they then give you instantaneous quotes and scheduling, and everything is done on the platform, right? So they don't call you outside of the app. They don't email you. They don't like text you. Everything is done on the platform, and you can instantaneously book with them. And then all the work is completed. You can basically be hands off with the entire thing. All payments are done through the platform. So the value prop for the homeowner in that regard is just pure simplicity and convenience and ease of keeping up with your home.
Okay, Warriors, Tribe, welcome to the Warrior Rising podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Bunn. We're here today with Gabe and Lindsay from MyHome. We're in sunny, beautiful, scenic Salt Lake City for the Salt Lake City Business Shower. And we're here in downtown Salt Lake City on the eve of the Eccles Theater event where Gabe and Lindsay, you two might be pitching your business in front of a theater of 2,500 people, depending on where you placed yesterday during our pitch competition at the Goldman and Sachs headquarters. For anybody that's tuning in and listening, you too could have the opportunity to pitch your business at one of our national business showers by participating in our programs. Programs start with the Warrior Academy, and from there you move on to Warrior University, which is hosted and sponsored in part by Grand Valley State University and their Business Accelerator program for veteran entrepreneurs. From there, you'll go on to continue to receive coaching and mentorship, special topic webinars and master classes. And at that point, once you've been in the program for a little while, you'll be considered for one of our upcoming business showers, as long as you're able to show that you've been prepared, participate fitfully in our programs, and have the opportunity to prove that you indeed do deserve to be present for one of these special events. I want to start with an icebreaker.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So the icebreaker for today is you have a choice. Every time you get in your car,
I love these.
yeah, you have to fight a rooster. It's a rooster.
Okay.
It's an aggressive rooster, and it's to the death. So every time you get in your car, every single time you get in your car, you have to fight a rooster.
Yeah.
I want to be clear, man. Roosters aren't good eating. You know what I mean? Nobody's eating roosters. It's not a meat hen.
Right.
All right.
This is a fight.
Yeah, it's a fight to the death. And it's in your car. It's in your car. So when you open the car, it's in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you have to fight an orangutan once a year. Also to the death. But I'm going to tell you something. The date's on the calendar, so you have the opportunity to kind of like prepare and train. And I will tell you, you can have a fixed blade weapon or a bludgeoning weapon to fight the orangutan. No firearms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a cockfight every single day.
Listen, it's not just every single day. Like if you're just you're just going to run errands, like, hey man, I got to pick up some Dove deodorant, Linen Fresh. That's my stuff.
What's the average adult male orangutan weigh?
Oh gosh, I don't know, but I mean, I've seen videos of orangutans like doing a tug of war on a beach,
Strong as shit.
with a bunch of like full grown ass military fighting aged males, and like the orangutan is just like lazily tearing them up. And then I've seen a couple, right now my algorithm on Instagram, I get a lot of Indian and Bengali content. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of great stuff in cinema on Netflix as well. So, the country of India, there's a lot of people over there. They've got a really, a big like type Hollywood scene. Bollywood is what I believe it's referred to. Anyways, they're also producing great content on Instagram. And there's a lot of that stuff on my algorithm right now. They have a lot of run-ins with both tigers and orangutans, as far as I can tell, more so than Westerners. This is not to say anything poor about the Indian people. I'm just saying it seems like they're always getting wrapped up in some shit with tigers and orangutans, but whatever, according to Instagram. But anyways, like, look, we don't want to digress. They're dangerous is what I'm trying to say. They're big and dangerous.
All right, so where my head initially goes is there's no way in hell I'm defeating an orangutan once a year. And the older I get, like I'll probably start to get less and less strong in that regard. So I just don't think I'm going to be able to defeat this thing, beast.
We've been clear that you can have a bludgeoning or a fixed blade weapon, correct?
Yeah.
You could have a sword. You could have a
but
broadsword.
that thing is like, I mean, those things are jacked. But
Yeah.
okay, so in SEER school, I had to kill the chicken.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of methods of killing these types of small bird animal things. So I'm gonna pick that rooster. I'm gonna rip
You're
his
gonna
head
kill a
off.
rooster every
Yeah.
single time you get into your car.
Yeah.
She's speaking from a place of experience. She's taken a life before this.
Yeah.
One of these is a chicken considered a fowl or something like that? Oh my God! According to Lucas, okay, orangutans weigh between 191 and
Yeah,
220
no
pounds.
fucking way am I defeating that thing.
I'm just here to tell you, I got about 30 pounds on that orangutan.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I think where I'm standing is I'm picking orangutan because this is how I'm gonna keep young and fit and in shape.
Yeah.
Every year I've got something to train for now.
This is how you're gonna re-blue
And
yourself.
then if I die, it was just my time and I didn't train hard enough that year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but that's how I'm gonna stay young.
It's a horrible way to die.
It would be, and it'd be
It's a
like
horrible way to
everybody
die.
would see it too. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
damn, Gabe went out. The
Nobody-
sad part is if I went out first year.
Yeah, yeah,
got
no.
my ass
I'd hate to see a first year loss from MyHome to orangutan death.
See the heads on chickens, and I think that they're probably closer to roosters. They pop off pretty quick.
You can
pretty
pull them
easy.
right off. You
Yeah,
can pull them right off.
Zing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you just start.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking about it a little bit too zealously, or
Too excited.
yeah, you're too excited about talking about how to kill these chickens.
I'm going orangutan. Lindsay's going rooster.
Okay, so rooster for Lindsay, orangutan for Gabe. Listen, I thought about it a lot. I have chickens. I got 11 of them. I got 10 hens and I got one rooster. We named the hens after like spices. What's up?
Well, if you name them, you don't want
Yeah, they're domesticated to a degree. And like I live in the city. Like I don't want people to get it twisted. I'm not like out here living in like West Texas prepping with a bunch of chickens and like I think this is how I'm gonna like survive, some government imposed apocalypse or whatever weird shit these preppers got going on.
Yeah.
I just like think it's great. I love having them. I get fresh eggs. It's cool. You should practice animal husbandry in some way, shape, or form in your household, whether it's having dogs. I don't necessarily think you should be having cats. I've spoke to people who've had lizards and they're like had their lizard cremated and they're like, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I gotta go pick up the ashes. I'm like, yo,
The reptile game is weird to me.
a little bit. I'm like, yo, fuck that lizard. I don't care.
We
Like
can fight over that cat opinion.
Lindsay's cat lady for sure.
they're feral. They're responsible for 2 billion avian deaths nationwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're bad animals. I just want.
to kill about 1 billion roosters. So
Yeah, that's true too. You're according to the icebreaker, you're getting ready to be rolling deep in rooster deaths.
For me.
Yeah, but listen, I got these 11 chickens. You're only supposed to have 7, and you're not supposed to have any roosters, and according to Tampa City ordinance. So I'm breaking the law. Yeah, I'm an outlaw. Yeah, so
Prove it.
yeah, right.
Don't find me.
Yeah, come and take them.
Yeah.
Molon Pollo, come and take my chickens, you rat bastards. But so I have chickens. I know what it takes, and I also went to SEER school, seen plenty of chickens, and also when I was in Robin Sage, which was like the culminating exercise for the Special Forces qualification course. Like we weirdly had to like slaughter a lot of our own animals to like feed ourselves. It's a huge pain in the ass. Like, it'll really make you appreciate home and like understand like how great midnight chow is. It's like, hey, bro, like if you're ever complaining about midnight chow, I could be having to like slaughter a bird every day, and it's a huge pain in the ass, and it's gross and it's messy. Yeah. Listen, I think I'm gonna go orangutan, man.
Yeah,
I've seen how they've done a couple of my Bengali cousins reaching through the bars trying to scuff these dudes up, and I also have. I haven't read the Jungle Book. Rudyard Kipling, I heard, had like a 4.5 minute mile, just FYI.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's wild as hell. That's weird that you know that. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Talking about the guy who recently broke the record, right?
No, Rudyard Kipling, the writer.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, damn it, shit. I was like, oh my god, we've just reached a new level of friendship, and now it's fine. We're just acquaintances.
Now it's back to normal.
Yeah, we just know each other. Don't worry about it. But yeah, but I've seen the Jungle Book. I've seen with that big nasty ape. What was his name, King Louis or something like that?
Yeah,
I'm good for that, dude. I'll beat that damn thing to death once a year.
You could also turn this into like a business.
Yeah,
right?
dude, I'd do it in the high school gymnasium.
Social media, the fuck out of it.
Yeah, I'd
turn
raise
it into a pay-per-view event.
Dude, I'd build a nonprofit around it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Raise a bunch of money for Gold Star families. I'm like, everybody come hang out once a year. I'm going to beat to death this orangutan for $1 million.
Right.
And then, and we'll pay homage to veterans while we're doing it. Everybody wins. This is a gift to the municipality.
Yes.
This has gone totally off rails. That's a sick idea. We can't do that.
We can't and won't.
All right, so fantastic. We know where we all sit in terms of having to fight animals to death, whether it's daily or when we get into our Toyota Tercel, or whether we have to fight an orangutan to death at a high school gymnasium once a year. So let's dig in. Gabe, Lindsay, both of you served in the military. I'd love to hear a little bit about, one, what brought you to the military? What was your life like prior to that when you were just a kid of fledgling youth? Both of you are academy graduates, so my sense is like you turned 18 and just like immediately shipped off to go attend West Point, and then spent your entire adult lives for the most part in the military until you transitioned out. So would love to hear a little bit, what was life like leading up to the military, and what made you decide to join?
Yeah, I guess I'll kick it off. So, I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, and just had, I would argue, one of the best childhoods you could possibly think of. We played outside. Like, my parents just like push us outside. I mean, we wanted to be outside as much as possible. We built tree forts. We rode bikes everywhere. We built a go-kart. Like, we were just dirt bikes. We were just outside playing all the time. So like, we even had this thing in fifth grade, I remember, where we would train for the military. So like, this started way back when we were like really young. I've just like always had this like kind of drive, or just some sort of like internal thought, like, yeah, the Army sounds like a really cool thing to do. And then when I was 11, my parents brought my brothers and I up to West Point.
Yeah.
We only lived about an hour away from the academy, and I just fell in love with literally everything that I saw there. I was just enamored.
Beautiful campus.
Yeah, and I think God just like whispered into my ear at that point and said, "Linz, this is where you're supposed to go to college. This is what you're gonna do."
Yeah.
And from that point on, I was sold. It was West Point or nothing.
Oh, really? You knew that early on?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Only applied to West Point for college.
Okay.
Threw all my eggs into one basket.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was just something I don't know,
Nice.
had to do.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm the exact opposite.
Okay.
So my grandfather was Special Forces in Vietnam, and Korea. And he died when my mom was like 10. He had a lot of PTSD, alcohol problems.
Yeah.
Ended up committing suicide.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I mean, it was growing up as a kid, I think this is hindsight looking back, my family did their best to show the good parts.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until I was much older that that's what happened, because
Yeah.
they kept it from us. Obviously, you don't tell a kid that. So I grew up looking at they had a box of his medals and things like that, and we would ask questions. It was always very vague. But that was my kind of military influence. None of my family was in the military, nothing like that. So I like to say, I kind of grew up seeing some of the bad parts that can happen.
Yeah.
But I had kind of I was dating this girl when I was 16 years old. Okay. And she was a senior and I was a junior in high school.
Nice.
I know.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was loving it. She had a car, I didn't. It was sweet.
At one point, was she 18 and you were like not 18?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. She was a criminal.
She was buying me cigarettes, dude.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. She smoked cigarettes.
I want to talk about how great she was.
She smoked cigarettes.
Yeah.
Like, as a 17, 18-year-old. Like, always had a pack on her.
Damn.
She lived with like a 95-year-old guy she wasn't related to.
Okay.
So like, this is kind of what my childhood at that point, I have great parents, great family, but I was kind of...
Yeah, I'll tell you, it all sounds unscrupulous.
yeah, it is.
All right.
So I'm...
Smoking cigarettes, living with a senior citizen that you're not related to. Shit, man. It sounds like a headline.
Bad situation, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say that because I had a mentor in high school, as a teacher of mine and a coach, and my girlfriend was graduating high school early.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, high school is awesome. Like, I got a girlfriend, she's got a car. Like, this is sweet. Why would anybody want to leave high school early? And my teacher was like, well, some of these people are going to join the military, or they might not enjoy high school like you do. They just want to kind of get out of high school, start a job, and start going to work. And I was like, well, I'd like to join the military. I've been thinking about that. And he was like, well, if you want to do that, let's look at the academies. And that was the first time I ever learned what West Point was. Yeah. So I was a junior. I pretty much had to start applying right away. And once I started applying, I was like, okay, this is where I got to be. This is what it is. Yeah. And it was the first time in my life where I was like, okay, for me, this is like direction. This is where I want to go. So I applied to VMI, Citadel, and West Point. I was set on the Army.
Yeah.
And then I applied to some fields and schools. Dude, I got waitlisted from like UNCW.
Yeah.
And then I got into the prep school at West Point, and I was like, okay.
Okay. So you got into the prep school.
Yep.
You know, you said something so interesting. You were like, why would I want to leave high school? It's such a blast.
Yeah.
You know, I go every year. I go to this place. It's Tampa Preparatory High School in Tampa. I like want to send my kid there. First time I went on the campus, it looked like a college campus. There's like kids like in the hallway, like playing piano and painting and shit. And I was like, what the hell is going on? It like looks like a college campus, but it's a high school campus. And I go there every year to talk about September 11th and the book, The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien.
Nice.
It's required reading for the juniors. And I talked to them right before they're getting ready to enter their senior year. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, I talk a little now, the kids that are in their junior year of high school were not alive when September 11th happened.
Oh my gosh.
So a lot of times I'm just there to like remind everybody about September 11th because it's kind of a big deal and they learn about it in the history books. But a lot of times I just talk to the kids and like right now, like for high school kids, like mental health issues and like a lot of them are just like objectively miserable in high school. Like a lot of kids aren't having a good time, but I always ask them, I'm like, hey, who's having a good time right now? Like you're having a great time in high school.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hands that go up and I'm like, hey man, that's great. I hope that lasts. I hope you're able to chase those tailwinds into your adult life because you're not in your adult life.
And
right
you
now.
usually see the opposite there, right? You see people that peak in high school, and we all know those guys.
Yeah.
And it really turns into a sad story.
It does, and I tell the kids and I say, who's not having a good time? I say, who's not having a good time? And not everybody always raises it, but every now and again, like somebody will raise their hand. I'm like, hey, bro. Yeah. I'm like, I got news for you. This is going to be over really soon.
Right.
Seems like it seems like it's taken forever.
Right.
But I'm like, tough it out. Get through this. In a year, you're going to be able to reinvent yourself. You can be whoever you want to be when you get out of here.
Yeah.
And whoever you are right now, I got news for you, pal.
It's not going to last.
You ain't going to be the same person in 18 months.
That's right, dude. I think something that I had at West Point and in high school. So like, cause like I was always eager to kind of move on, but I also understood during those times, which I'm happy I could understand it, was I don't have responsibilities right now. Yep. Responsibilities are coming. And like, that's why I wasn't eager to get out of West Point either. Yeah. I was like, dude, the responsibilities are coming. This is easy right now. And some of it sucks, but it's kind of easy. So that's why I was like, I kind of enjoyed being in high school and I enjoyed some parts of West Point as well because it was like before adulthood type stuff.
Know, having an opportunity to join the military, and I think one of the reasons that I joined is like I was not completely comfortable with who I was. You know, I really wasn't. You know what I mean? Probably people who knew me probably wouldn't say that. That's probably not the account they would give. They'd be like, he seemed like he was fine with who he was. Yeah. But in reality, I just didn't like myself. And I think the thing about the military that's so interesting, it's an opportunity to completely reinvent yourself. You can leave everything behind. It is a fresh start, and you can be whoever you want to be. You can go seek adventure. And it's a mechanism that's selfless. Like you get to say, you know what, not only am I doing all these things, it's delivering me this new start, this opportunity to recreate myself in whatever way I see fit. But like, damn, they're actually going to provide me with the tools to do it. And on top of that, like I'm doing it in service to my nation. That's a square deal, man. I got to tell you, that's a square deal,
dude. Yes, and I think the further away I get from the military, the more I appreciate everything you just said.
Yeah,
it's really hard to appreciate it as an 18, 19, 20-year-old because it's kind of fun when you're young in the military to think like, oh, this sucks, this is blah 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 blah. But you really start to realize exactly what you're saying is like the value of in your young adult life being a part of something that is much larger than you. And I know that sounds cliche, but what it teaches you and not even knowing that it's teaching you that is something that you cannot find in any other industry, any other life, any other place. Like you can in the military, no matter what branch or what your job is.
You cannot. Now, sounds like you were a little bit near do well, but it sounds like you had good mentors, people looking after you, that got you where you need to be. Went to the preparatory academy, ended up attending West Point. That's all good, but Lindsay, you were deliberate about this. And not surprisingly, you did very good at West Point by the sounds of things. I know a little bit about you. We've had an opportunity to meet both at the Penn Fed, Veteran Accelerator Program, and then of course now here. And then I've kept tabs on you guys. You did really well at West Point. You did good at West Point. You if I'm not mistaken, you were the first female, like, what do they call it? It's like the captain. You're like, essentially, you're the valedictorian of your class. Break that down for me.
Yeah.
I've met a couple other ones. Usually they were like my XO or my battalion commander. And as far as I could tell, one of the prerequisites is you got to be a real asshole. But you seem nice. You seem nice. So I'm like, what is going on, right?
Yeah. I wasn't the first female first captain. I was the fourth.
Okay.
For West Point. But yeah, I mean, honestly.
So you're the fourth one in how many years?
220.
Yeah.
Yo, pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't come to West Point with the ambition of being the first captain. I came to West Point because I was excited to serve in the military. I didn't even really know I wanted aviation until like beginning of sophomore year.
Okay.
So I was honestly probably a horrible cadet my freshman year. Not horrible in a sense where like I was just so scared of everything that was going on because like I just came from like I had no military background. You know, I didn't grow up understanding how to march in formation. Otherwise, I was in the marching band, so I did kind of march a little bit.
You were in the marching band?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I was cool. I was in the drum line.
Oh, that's cool.
The drum line is objectively a little bit cooler.
Slightly.
Like, yeah, if I'm hanging out with somebody and they're like if it's like the beginning of the night and they're like, you have two choices. You can hang out with the trombone player, or you can hang out with the homie that plays drums. I'm like, give me the
hang out with Nick Cannon on the drum line.
Yeah, give me the drum guy.
Yeah, we were a cool drum line.
Okay, very cool. All right, cool drum line. But yeah, you were like riding around in go-karts out in the wilderness, getting chased by golden retrievers, like having this hallmark life, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, people are yelling at you and telling you to keep your elbows off the table.
Exactly. And I was just like very confused at like the rank structure. I never knew like who was in what position. I just like, it took me a while to like conceptualize and understand like what the hierarchy was and like what the rank meant on their like epaulets for cadets. And I was like, who's in charge? Who's not? Like, what's going on here? And
that's funny.
So I just like kept my head down basically my entire freshman year. Yeah. I followed all the rules to a T. I was just scared of getting in trouble, scared of getting yelled at. I was just a fearful person. I mean, I remember like one time I came home, I think it was for Thanksgiving, maybe our freshman year. And I was so tense. Like I was just like a ball of fear that my parents were like, chill the fuck out. Like this is gonna be okay.
When did you start turning that around? When did you start coming into your own?
Yeah, just gaining a little bit of confidence. No,
he's like, look here, girl. I've been dating ladies that smoke cigarettes and drive a Camaro. Yeah. You need to loosen up.
And I just like cared so much about like academics, and I was also on the track team, so I was trying to perform there, and so it was just like I put the pressure on myself.
So you were good at running?
I did it to myself. Yeah.
Oh, that's how you got it. You know, they were like, this person maxes out the run.
Yeah.
Promote ahead of peers. Yeah.
80 push-ups, 80 sit-ups. 12-minute 2 miles.
Yeah, track was like track was one of the main reasons why I got into West Point. I got recruited. Yeah. I ran in the Junior Olympics when I was in high school. So in the heptathlon and in the pentathlon. So they were like, okay, this is a very unique thing for a high school student to do. So that's what I ran in college at West Point. And so like that track was like my outlet, but like academics were just for me. I just wanted to do well, and I just put so much pressure on myself. And I think what I started to realize when we got our grades after the first year, and I was like really high up, I was like, oh, I can do this, but I don't need to put that much pressure on myself because it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right. Like it doesn't matter. We all commission. And I think when I started to like understand what happens after graduation, that's when I started to kind of just like give myself a little bit more confidence. Like, yes.
I taught Lindsay that if the paper was due in 3 weeks, you didn't have to start it tonight. Yeah. Right. You could wait a little bit before you did the paper. Okay. You know, and like that's what I really, really brought to.
I do remember it was a Super Bowl night, and like all the cadets, especially like Gabe and all of his friends, were going out, and we're gonna go like have some beers down at the Firsty. And I was like, no, I can't go out. I have to write this paper. And so I did. I stayed in and I worked.
Lindsay was like, I'm not a big baseball fan anyway, so I'll pass on the Super Bowl. I was like, well, that's fine. You should probably stay in because this is football.
You know what? You're right. You need to work on that paper.
Yeah.
Lindsay, I'm right there with you. I don't watch any ball sports. I don't have, when people are like, they're like, yo, who'd you sign up for the draft? And I was like, the draft? I was like, dog, we're going to war? We're in a conflict? Like, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? And then like the NFL draft, I'm like, oh no, I don't know anything.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Marshawn Lynch was in the NFL at one point.
He was at one point. Yeah.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady was too.
Yeah, I know his ex-wife. She's dating this jiu-jitsu guy now.
Yeah, it was like their trainer or some it was like Tom Brady's trainer or some shit.
God, it's got to suck when you're like, when your ex-wife.
It's gotta suck when you're Tom Brady.
Yeah. Can you imagine? And I'll tell you what, that's a great way to level set on life. Is even Tom Brady is waking up sometimes and being like, "Damn, man, what a rough, goddamn Brazilian guy dating my wife."
That's so true, dude. That's a good check on reality.
It's a good check on reality. Even Tom Brady is eating dino nuggies all depressed at 7 p.m. With store-bought freaking Dijonnaise. Anyhow, I digress. So Lindsay, you're doing well. You're loosening up a little bit. It sounds like Gabe's on the scene. He's tearing assing around West Point. So he's up there at Hogwarts causing problems. But you're continuing to climb the chain. You've gotten comfortable. You've got your feet underneath you. Academically, you're doing well. You're playing sport for the academy, which shines a light on athletics for USMA, which is a huge deal, as we all know. At some point, like, you realize that you're gonna become a pilot, and you start doing so well at the academy that not only are you being recognized as an athlete, not only are you being recognized for academics, but at some point you're being recognized for leadership ability. I want to hear about that.
Yeah. So it was my junior year, and my TAC NCO came up to me and was like, "You should try out for, like, put your packet in to be a key summer leader."
Yeah.
And that's basically what you have to do in order to become to basically take any type of like high type of leadership role your senior year. You have to be a key summer leader. So what that means is you go through an entire, basically like an assessment process. It's a bunch of boards with colonels and generals, and you have to, they review your entire academic career, your like basically everything you've done at West Point up to this point.
Yeah.
And then they choose and they slot you for all these roles over the summer, which is like, typically it's like the King of Beast. So that's the cadet who's running the first part of Beast, which is the 6-week basic training that transitions the high school students to become cadets.
Yeah.
It's like their first summer at the academy.
Okay.
So that's like the most prestigious position to take on, which is the King of Beast. And then you have like all these different other leadership opportunities over the summer that you could be slated for. I was chosen after that process to be the King of Beast.
Yeah.
So cool. I was in charge of
Beast is like basic training at West Point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's called Beast. Is that an acronym, or is it like?
No,
I think it is just Beast.
It's cadet. It's barracks. What does it stand for?
Yeah.
No, it's cadet summer. No, I don't. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And basic training. And so I was put into this role, and once again, I found myself in a position where I really didn't know what was going on. I had no idea how to run an entire. I think at that point it was a regiment's worth of new cadets, and all of the other cadet chain of command leadership, and they were all looking to me to figure all of this out. And it was a very, very stressful. It was a very, very stressful leadership experience. I had an incredible mentor who basically like worked side by side with me throughout the entire thing. He was a colonel, and I learned a lot. And I honestly thought I did a horrible job during this time. I just, you always are your own biggest critic. And so I would, wake up in the morning and be like, okay, I'm going to try and make today better than yesterday in terms of like leadership, in terms of making the right decisions, in terms of like making sure that the new cadets are hearing the right information and are being led in the right directions, that they, are learning through this experience, but they're also becoming the cadets that we want them to become.
Yeah.
And, by the end of it, I finished the program, handed off the reins to the CBT2 chain of command, and Gabe and I went on a little vacation. And I remember General Clark called me like towards the end of the summer and was like, "You've been selected as the first captain."
It's wild.
Yeah. And we almost died in that. Gabe can tell the story.
Dude, we were driving in my truck. We were going to see my grandparents out in BFE, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And General Clark, she's like, "Oh my God, General Clark's calling me." And I was like, "Well, answer it." Yeah. And like she, blah, blah, blah. She hangs up the phone. She's like, "They picked me as the first captain." And then she yanks the steering wheel just out of excitement. And we're driving on this road. I don't know. I was like, that was the weirdest reaction you could have ever had to something good happening.
Yeah.
Just almost killed us. We literally swerved off the road.
Jesus.
I had to like regain control. Almost flipped the truck. Like I was like, okay.
My brain just like, I just like lost consciousness for like a brief moment because I was just like, holy shit, this is like, I can't believe that this has happened. Like, I mean, the first captain is, I mean, we can get into a little bit about what the role entails, but like, yeah, it's a huge deal. And,
It's a huge deal.
And I was just like
I said,
completely overcome.
I've met a few of them. I've met a few first captains in my tenure in the military, and it's like, trust me, it was communicated to me that it was a big deal. You know, both directly and indirectly. You know, but like no joke, like the first like we had a guy who was the first captain who was strutting around as a second lieutenant. And he had a goddamn scuba bubble, and I was like, "Hey, man, what the hell are you doing with that?" You know what I'm saying? I was like, "Come here, you."
Yeah.
And like obviously, like I was like a commissioned officer that was like 32 years old and had a long tab, so I was like, "You're curious. Come here. Like, why do you have that, youngster?" Yeah. He's like, "Dude, I was the first captain, and they sent me to scuba school." And I was like, "Well, that's rad." Combat diver school. So super cool. So you, so your first captain. Obviously, you guys figure out what you're going to branch. You branch aviation.
Yep.
And as we all know, that vaulted you into a career where you'd be flying Apaches, and then, of course, would continue to blaze a trail in the military by being one of the first female pilots, if not the first, to serve in 160th. But before we get there, I have enjoyed hearing about this Diary of a Wimpy Kid-esque type story about like, somebody who's, caught doing good. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on with you. But I got dazed and confused over here. I got Matthew McConaughey's character.
I love talking about this.
Yeah, because you guys really have got this is. Yeah, you guys are on opposite ends of the spectrum here. So you're bebopping around, driving in your truck, having beers with the homies.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, your future wife is busting her ass so that she can be first captain.
Yeah.
So what's up? Were you like in the top half of the bottom 50%, or where the hell did you land?
Well, I landed in. So there's a thing called Combat Club, right?
I mean, they made you an infantry officer, so they obviously trusted you to like lead.
Dude, my whole theory at West Point was like, we're all going to graduate at the same rank.
Correct.
I wanted to do something in the Army, and it didn't matter what my grade in calculus was. Yeah. Right. I wanted to do well.
Did you take calculus?
I don't even know, dude. Yeah. See, I don't know. I knew I took chemistry, and then I started like our business classes. That was cool. That was my major.
Yeah.
That's where I started to do well in school. And before I met Lindsay, hold on.
He's like, wait.
I had 2 A's, and it was in boxing and combatives.
Okay.
And those are my A's. And I was like, look, this is the type of cadet I want to be. Like this is, and like that's why I was also a successful infantry officer, because like that was my mentality. I like to be around those types of people, and I was good at that stuff. But I had a different experience at West Point. I had like 220 hours.
Walking hours?
Yeah, which is like gnarly, and it sucks and all that stuff.
That's a lot.
But I think like
that's a lot.
To me, this is why we do so well together in business and in just life.
Yeah.
Is because I have a personality where I like to find the edge. I have to push it and push it and push it. And I think that's truly needed in entrepreneurship. If you're trying to disrupt and change the game, I think you need to have a mentality of like, we're not going to go with the status quo. We have to break some rules if we want to really create something that changes. But you also have to have the other person to keep you in line, right? And that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years. In personal life and in business.
Wait, I just got to throw in one really quick story. When we started dating, you know how Gabe mentioned his only A's were in combatives and boxing?
Yeah.
So when we started dating, I would force him to study for the first time in his entire West Point career.
Yeah.
And he ended up doing better than I did on the exams. So he's actually really freaking smart. You just got to...
I love the way
how she's surprised about that.
I love the way she said actually.
I know.
You know
like,
what I mean?
Jesus.
He's actually pretty smart.
It's the only way I could hang out with her if we studied. I was like...
Whatever. You know what I mean? Well, that's super interesting. You said something interesting there, like in order for somebody to excel in entrepreneurship, you can't be risk averse.
That's right.
Yeah, you can't be risk averse.
That's exactly right.
You got to really be willing to take a risk.
Yeah.
But there's something else that's really required to be a successful entrepreneur, and that's you've got to be critical of yourself. You got to be willing to torture yourself over the details.
Yep.
And it sounds like you guys have found a really nice balance here, because it sounds like you guys have the best of both worlds, by way of this unholy union that was created at West Point, right?
That's exactly right, man.
And like, listen, like there's a long time ago, I had a really good, this guy, Robert Proctor. He's probably the first man I ever looked up to. And I had been in the military for like a full ass decade and met this guy. And like, I had not really ran into really anybody that had inspired me in such a way that I took note of what they were telling me. I had like drill instructors and, other people that would like impart different pieces of advice, but I never really like sat around and like thought long and hard about what any other man had ever told me. I was marching to the beat of my own drum. I was like, I don't need advice from some other dude or anything like that. But he once told me, he goes, listen, and at the time I was doing well, I was the number one cadet, but I was not doing well from a leadership perspective. I was not emulating the leadership characteristics that were appropriate for the people that were below me.
Right.
And I wasn't taking that into consideration. And he looked at me and he goes, Ben, he goes, if the battalion had a banner, your face would be on it. And I was like, and I was not in a place at that time to be receiving compliments from this man. He was being critical of me. And he was being critical of me when he made that comment. He goes, there's such a thing as official and unofficial leadership. And he's like, and here's the deal. You're an unofficial leader inside this battalion, whether you like it or not. And he's like, and at some point, you're going to embrace the fact that you can be an official leader. But he's like, but until you do that, he's like, you're going to be the nighttime janitor in this battalion until you pull your head out of your ass and stop acting like a punk. He called me a punk. And it took me a long time to understand what he was talking about. You two are interesting because you've got this great balance, which I think has probably been very delicate. But you both are both official and unofficial leaders, right? I am certain that you were wildly popular as an infantry platoon leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I am certain you commanded absolute respect as a result of what you accomplished, both at the academy and then later on as an Apache pilot. Let's talk a little bit about that. You're out of West Point. You get through flight school. You pick the UH-60 as your
killed the chicken.
Yeah, you killed these goddamn chickens. You're out here slaughtering birds. You're an Apache pilot. You're doing well, and you find your way into the 160th by the sound of things, right? And just for anybody that's listening, anytime I meet an Apache pilot, they drink for free. Say what you want about infantry guys and SF guys when they're all talking about how they got in a firefight and they were tearing it up and all this stuff. Bullshit, bro. What you were actually doing is waiting for an Apache to get on station and smoke those motherfuckers with a 30 millimeter cannon.
Yep.
That's what you were actually waiting on. And I know that an Apache can do in 5 seconds, that would take either a platoon of infantry guys or a team of SF guys 24 hours and a speedball reload of ammunition to accomplish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a beast of a helicopter.
Yeah, it's nasty, dude. If you got an Apache on station and you're having problems, you go from breaking contact to like everybody sit in place. We're getting ready to do battle. We're getting ready to do a BDA. We're getting ready to go see some dead bodies.
Some SLC.
Yeah. So tell me about it. Tell me about what that was like. Tell me about how you found yourself in the 160th.
Yeah. So flying the 64 was it was incredible. I just got so lucky because I had the best unit. I was down at Fort Bliss, in 3-6 cabin. It honestly wouldn't have been, if it wasn't for Gabe getting Fort Bliss, I wouldn't have been in that unit. And I think my entire military career shifted because of my commander that I had down there. He was absolutely phenomenal. One of the best leaders I've ever worked with in my entire life.
Makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. I mean, this guy is the reason why I was able to get into the 160th. He sat me down in his office on basically day one when he took command. He said there's 3 tenets to being a good leader. It's buy a pair of cleats, figure it the fuck out, and be a good dude. And I was like, I fucking love that.
Yeah.
And so I've taken that and like have ran with it.
What did he mean by buy a pair of cleats?
So it's basically like commit to the field.
Yeah.
So show up with motivation. Like you're not going to, kind of what he said was, you're not going to work at Burger King wearing a Wendy's hat, right?
That's right.
You're not going to join your, like a soccer league and not show up wearing your cleats because you're going to be letting your team down.
That's right.
So I really, really respected that. And he also made sure, like he said, your number one priority as a lieutenant in this company is to fly. He was like, a lot of other commanders are going to tell their lieutenants that they're in charge of making the training meeting slides and writing the flight schedule. He was like, I don't give a shit about that. I need you to be flying. I don't care if people call you like a stick hog, whatever it is. You're going to be in that cockpit as much as possible, flying this aircraft and learning how to be good. And that just changed everything for me because because I had him as my commander. Then a couple years later, I sat down with my battalion commander and I was like, hey, sir, I want to fly for the 160th. And I also want to assess for the AH-6 Little Bird. And he basically was like, that's probably not the best idea because one, I don't know if the unit is ready for a woman to come in and fly that aircraft. No one has ever passed the assessment process. And, you know, I kind of took a risk in assessing for that aircraft. You know, it could have put a red mark on my aviation career as just being like, you know, the chick who goes and tries to prove herself to these like incredible, like literally the best pilots and the best like on the planet.
Yeah.
And so, but I did take that risk and it paid off. Obviously I was picked up and selected, but man, that assessment process was brutal.
Yeah.
I had another friend who was in the 160th and I hadn't really met him before the assessment. And I was in the parking lot, outside of BCO during the assessment week. And he came out and he said to me, just lift the ammo can. That's all he said to me. Just lift the ammo can. And I was like, I don't even know what that means right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I get in there and we go and we do like a day contact flight and we get back to the hangar and the whole company is out in the hangar, just basically waiting for for this next like phase of the assessment.
Yeah.
And like without getting into too much detail about it, I had to lift this ammo can and basically like rearm the aircraft. And I just like what he said to me just was like constantly going through my head at that point. I was like, just lift the ammo can. And I knew everyone was out there because they thought I wasn't gonna be able to lift it. You know, it's a heavy thing. I mean, it's over 100 pounds. And
Like clean it.
yeah, you have to clean it and then like kind of like use your body basically to put it onto the aircraft, onto the pod. And I did it. And I just always look back to like these experiences that I've had and like these successes that I've had, but it's because people have helped me get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I would have had the motivation to have like put everything on the line to lift that ammo can if he hadn't been out in the parking lot and just whispered that like, lift the ammo can.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's just like little things like that have just happened to me throughout my career that just have to change the trajectory of things. And it's just been I don't know. I feel very lucky in that regard. But flying for the 160th was the best thing that, other than marrying Gabe, just like the best thing that has ever really happened. I think actually founding MyHome has been pretty far up there. But it's the people. That's really all that it is. It's just the people.
Man, just lift the ammo can. Put that on a t-shirt, brother. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, tell me a little bit about your military experience. You get out of West Point. You're a newly minted infantry officer. You went through Ebola. Huge pain in the ass. Everybody hates it.
Yeah, I had a very run-of-the-mill military career.
Yeah.
Without going into too many details, I could, but I don't know if I want to put it out there on this forum. I think my personality is I like to be an outside the box thinker.
Yeah.
I want to think creatively. I want to solve problems differently. And regular Army traditionally doesn't like that, right? And it's for a purpose.
Yeah.
We need battle drills because when we're in combat, we don't want you thinking.
You nailed it. And
You know?
I tell people that all the time. The reason that guys in the special forces have relaxed grooming standards isn't because they lack discipline. They have shown that they have it in a multitude of different ways. So it doesn't need to be articulated in that way.
Focus on other things.
But I will tell you, if I took a regular Army unit and told everybody like, you don't have to shave anymore.
Trash.
The next day I would show up, it'd be like Mad Max in that place.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
it would be. You're
be,
right.
You know,
And like
they'd be warming themselves by a 55 gallon drum with fire in it, you know?
They would stop doing the normal things like wearing the uniform correctly.
The whole shit.
Yes,
The
you
whole
can't
shit.
do that. And like, and that's why I don't hold it against the military at all.
Not
It's
at all.
good. They need to do that. At least if you just look at it from like fighting stance, right? If you're fighting a war, you need to have battle drills and everybody needs to be on the same page and then you can maneuver off of that.
Yeah.
But my personality is just not that, right? I did not enjoy, and this is retrospectively, I didn't understand why I didn't enjoy what I was doing, but this is why I enjoy entrepreneurship so much, because we can see a problem and we can solve it creatively in many different ways. Whereas in the military, I was told, no, this is how you solve it. This is how we do it. Why? Well, that's the way we've been doing it.
Yeah.
And like that over and over and over, and I got pretty tired of. And that's kind of why I was like, okay, I need to do something else. Now, all that to be said, I was 25 years old in Afghanistan in charge of 80 people going out as a platoon leader, a rifle platoon leader, going out on mission every day.
Doing the deed.
And it was like that, looking back on that experience, man, I mean, from the entrepreneurship lens, that puts such a perspective on everyday struggles. Now it's like, okay, this was this, and now this is like, okay, I slept in a bed last night. I had some food this morning. I worked out. I didn't, there wasn't any indirect fire coming in, waking me up.
Hey, listen, even Tom Brady's having a bad time. Exactly. And this morning I woke up in a soft bed. Like,
that's right.
We're good, dude.
I showered, it's like all that stuff. So, I owe everything good and bad that I am to West Point and the Army. I truly, truly mean that. I wouldn't change a single thing, but I do think my personality was just not meant to do a long career in the military or stay in much past what I did, just because I wanted to be in an environment where I could think creatively, solve a problem, and think outside the box, and then make positive change in an organization.
Yeah.
And typically the regular Army, it's built to last, right? And thinking creatively and outside the box and all that stuff is really just doesn't support that. It's a good thing, right? But yeah, so that's kind of why I decided to get out. But my career, I had a couple opportunities to be a platoon leader, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Deployment was awesome. And then I just did that time. And then my last bit was I wasn't going to go to Captain Careers course because I didn't want to put any more time on my contract.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get as close to, at this point we were married.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get as close to Lindsay as possible. So I had to go to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and be a company commander for a basic training.
Oh, brutal, dude. Brutal. Good on you, though.
But here's the thing, dude. So it was 1 year, South Carolina.
Yeah.
We could drive and meet in Knoxville, so that was the plus. Nice. Town's nice. But all my drill sergeant, this was like POG basic training. So and
hey, now that's the kind I went through. You know what I'm saying?
It's fine. It's good.
I wasn't always a barrel-chested freedom fighter. At one point, I was just some booger-eating nerd, fixing radios at Fort Jackson or whatever.
Yeah, that's where I was, Fort Jackson. There was a lot of booger eaters, but all my drills were mainly infantry dudes.
Yeah.
And the commander's position,
they're not slouches. Drill sergeants are not slouches,
and they're great guys. But the commander's position in those units is not key leader for infantry guys.
Nope.
But it is for other MOSs. Oh. So you can be a quartermaster guy, come in there, and that's key leader. So they were used to having these like quartermaster guys or whatever, no offense to these guys, come in and take it very seriously because it was their key leader time.
Yeah.
I came in there and I told these guys, I was like, look, I've got 12 months here. I'm getting out. I'm an infantry dude. You guys are infantry dudes. We're all cool. Don't kill anybody. Don't break any rules. Don't do anything illegal, unethical, or immoral.
Don't mess up my property.
And I am not going to mess with you. So we had a really good relationship. I had a great battalion commander there, and the drills really loved it because they got to train these trainees the way they should be trained. So it was a good experience to end the career.
That's fantastic. So, you guys have talked, whether you know it or not, and talking to you both about your military careers, you guys have both essentially explained at a pretty fundamental level why you were both positioned to be very good entrepreneurs. Specifically, you guys are exceptionally well suited to work with one another.
Yeah.
Which works out because you guys are married or whatever. So it's
you
already got the government involved in your goddamn relationship. So might as well get involved in the business too. So let's take a few minutes and kind of wrap things up here and just talk about one. I want you to talk about MyHome. I want you to talk about how listen, we had an opportunity to hear you guys pitch yesterday. Fingers crossed, we're going to hear you pitch this evening as well. But would love to hear about how you guys both got it. Obviously, you probably had an opportunity to be like, gazillion star general and stuff like that, and be crushing people. Be like that scary lady from the show Yellowstone or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Beth. Beth. I can't wait for them to just put a bow on it with the last season. God damn, it's in a death rattle. But would love to hear how you guys parlayed. You took these unique tools, your ability to push limits and think creatively, your strict sense of duty and holding yourself ruthlessly accountable. How did you guys use these unique skills that both of you guys have and have paired up with one another to parlay into this, what is now a pretty incredible startup that looks like it's growing at an absolute exponential rate? I have absolutely no doubt that MyHome is going to become just as superfluous in the home buying community as Zillow and Angie's List and all these other great platforms that people lean on in order to become more informed about home buying, home ownership, and all this kind of stuff. Tell me how you guys parlayed into that, and tell us a little bit about MyHome.
Yeah, man. So I'll let you get into MyHome. How we kind of got into the entrepreneurship game. I got out in 2020.
Yep.
It was like March, April. So it was right when COVID was still like
full swing,
real, you know, and everybody, it wasn't politicized yet.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, okay, let's take this thing
seriously.
dude.
I was like, I don't want to die.
I'll stay at home for 2 weeks. Let's figure this thing out. You know?
Good.
And we saw where that all went. But I was getting out of the military at that point, and I was now trying to find a job.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a good mentor during that phase. So anybody's listening, I would say my advice there is network, reach out to these communities and they will help you. I didn't do that. I just took to like LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
And I was doing that game. And I asked my bosses in the military what I should do, right? Yeah. I didn't even think, well, what they don't know. So they've never been out of the military, right? So I did the normal, like I applied to like Google, Amazon, Facebook, and did the
circuit.
The circuit of the op stuff. They were going well, but when I was talking to these guys, it was like, man, these guys are just in a different uniform. You know, it seems like the same big. I wanted to get away from the big bureaucratic, too much red tape. I wanted to make change.
Do your own shit.
Yeah. So I started looking at franchises. I started looking at starting businesses. And, you know, we went down that route into the home services industry.
Yeah.
And then I got some really good early on mentors and advisors there, and some investors to help me get that thing off the ground. And then at the beginning, I was driving a van, cleaning up shit, and running the business. Yeah. Like, I mean, we were doing we were a restoration company. We were doing like blood cleanup and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, and that was really tough for me too, because your ego gets involved. And I was like, dude, I went to West Point. I was like this, that. Now I'm literally driving a work van and I'm going in here and cleaning up blood and boogers and whatnot. Right.
It's a great experience though.
Dude.
It's a great experience.
And it was cool because then we built it and we scaled it and we did a couple million in revenue towards the end, before we got rid of it. But it was like that experience where I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this forever, but I know there's gaps in these industries, and the timing, just like everything else, was right for us to start thinking about MyHome.
Yeah. I mean, just like having like the conversations that we were able to have with just all of the homeowners and all the homes that we were going into, and then all the relationships and the conversations with all of the other business owners, like in the home services industry, we started to recognize that there's a massive problem with fragmentation, whether it's the scheduling, the communications, the payments. So just kind of going back into it a little bit, our original idea for MyHome was actually, what we recognized was like homeowners were just very, very sick of having to call all these different companies and schedule all these different ways and pay with leaving a check in the mailbox or leaving cash on the counter. It's just a antiquated way of keeping track of your home and keeping up with it. So we were like, well, what if there was just like one phone number for them to call and one company to deal with?
Yeah.
So our initial idea was actually to create a company that was one truck that would come to your house with an interior team and an exterior team. And your interior team would take care of your cleaning, any handyman work on the inside. Exterior would obviously do your lawn care. Yeah. But it was just one place for the homeowner to go to schedule and pay. Yeah, exactly. And
you guys were operating under the assumption that there was 100 of you walking around doing that same kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whoops-a-daisy.
And so I was in my first year at Harvard Business School, and I brought this idea to the
business plan.
Yeah, we wrote a whole business plan on it.
Yeah.
And I brought it to the Harvard Innovations Lab just to kind of like talk through with some mentors about it.
And poke some holes in it.
Yeah. And they were basically like, this is not VC backable. This is very, very capital intensive.
Capital intensive because of the employees.
Yep,
can't
exactly.
Scale.
It's all the equipment. You own all of that. Like they were like, this is a great concept. The idea is there. How you're going to execute it is not there. Yeah. So think of a way to enable the same like value prop, but through technology. And so that's kind of like where the idea of MyHome came. We just went back to the drawing board, literally, and for about a year, re-talk to people. Gabe was doing phone calls with vendors, professional home service professionals, like 30-minute phone calls multiple times a day, just to try and get there, like really understand like what are your pain points and how can we use tech to solve these things. And then talking to all these homeowners. I mean, it took a year for us to kind of get into the model with where we are right now with MyHome.
So give us a real succinct breakdown. What does MyHome provide both to end item users and vendors? Where's the business at now, and where do you see it going in 2025?
Yeah, so the value prop for the homeowner is we have just simplified every aspect of maintaining your home. So it's an intelligent home management platform essentially. So right now how the tech works is any issue that you have in your house, all you have to do is take a picture of it. So say you have a leaky faucet, take a picture of it. Our tech understands what that is. And then we basically match you with vendors that we have already vetted and screened very intensely for them to be on our platform.
I heard about that screening process yesterday.
And they then give you instantaneous quotes and scheduling, and everything is done on the platform, right? So they don't call you outside of the app. They don't email you. They don't like text you. Everything is done on the platform, and you can instantaneously book with them. And then all the work is completed. You could basically be hands off with the entire thing. All payments are done through the platform. So the value prop for the homeowner in that regard is just pure simplicity and convenience and ease of keeping up with your home. And then do you want to talk about the vendors and then also the MyHome guys?
Yeah. So to wrap up the homeowner side is all that work is stored that creates like the Carfax for your home, right?
Yeah.
And what we are doing there is we believe like when you're scrolling Zillow, you should be able to look at visually what you like in a house, but you should also see what the bones look like.
Yeah.
So you should be able to see what the HVAC looks like. You should be able to see what the roof looks like. And when I say looks like, it means when am I going to have to replace this thing? How much it's going to cost me? Has the other owner done maintenance on this? And now I can plan and anticipate, and that should influence your decision on buying a home or not. Or if you have enough money, you at least know it's coming, right? So that's like the Carfax aspect that we think is truly, truly a game changer in this industry. For the vendors on our platform, these guys, and this is where my true passion lies on this side, is like these guys are like the heartbeat of America. These guys have owned plumbing companies, electrician companies. They work their asses off, and they are getting constantly screwed by an Angie or a Thumbtack or Google. They're spending all this money. They don't have the time to understand this. They don't have companies running this stuff for them. For us, you're not going to get charged unless the customer chooses you. That's the big difference.
When I first met you guys and heard about your organization at PenFed, there was something that was really top of mind for me, and it was a recent statistic that I'd heard, and it was for every 2 people that enter the vocations, right now, 5 are leaving.
Yep.
Which means people that enter vocation are going to be able to start calling their own shots. And generally speaking, I believe it also means that you're going to see a higher degree of professional acumen coming from people that are working in vocation.
Bingo, dude.
Yeah. And
that's exactly right.
They are going to start wanting, and like, listen, you guys are providing a means by which this labor can be democratized.
Yep.
And that we can start restoring dignity to people that work in vocation,
Dude.
which is a huge, huge deal.
100%.
Huge
I
deal.
couldn't have said that better myself. The only thing I'll add onto that is like some people say that stat and it worries them. I don't think you need to be worried about it because the 5 that came in and then 2 that are replacing the 5 today, I would argue that the 2 that are replacing the 5
are doing the work of 10 goddamn people.
With the technology nowadays and the people that are replacing them, these guys. Here's my opinion on this. If I'm one of the guys that's like, hey, Dad, you did a great job running this plumbing company and you do $10 million a year, but I saw how hard it was.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that shit.
I'm not doing it.
It's the MBAs and the guys coming out of the military that are like, these are great businesses and I'm going to do this because I know how to take this to the next level utilizing some technology. And that's why our product is a timing thing for these guys. It's actually super encouraging what the industry is doing right now.
Yeah. And then the thing that we talked about yesterday when you were like, what did you think? And I remember talking about Zillow. Zillow is the equivalent of a Bumble or a Tinder profile.
Yeah.
It's like all pictures of me shirtless and greased up. I'm weirdly showing my Rolex, like, hey, like that.
Yeah.
You know
Check out
what I
this
mean?
fish I caught.
Yeah, hold the obligatory guy holding
Bass.
a fish and a woman holding a firearm. It's like, and like we swipe right on that once we get the match. But once I'm matched, what I really want to do is I want to swipe up. And I want to see if they've got a criminal history, and I want to see what their goddamn credit report looks like. Because that's the shit that's going to be affecting me long term. I need to know, am I going to have to replace the air conditioner or am I going to have to redo the roof?
Yep.
And if I'm getting ready to get into a relationship with somebody that's got a 540 credit score, holy shit, I want to know about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Lipstick on a pig shouldn't exist when you're buying a $500,000 home.
100%. And by the way, I was the one that provided him with that analogy yesterday. I want $1 every time he uses it. So, yeah, just give me an executive producer call out or something like that or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, and just being able to visualize on the homeowner's perspective, where like the current health of those major systems are. People don't think about those types of things. You don't think about the last time your water heater was flushed,
You
because
don't.
most of us don't even know that we have to flush our water heater.
You think about it when you get the invoice, though, homie.
Exactly. And then it's thousands of dollars down the drain, ironically. And you are then having to, like, I mean, the process is just like, it's a hidden nightmare. And no one even knows that it's a nightmare until it actually hits you in the face.
Yeah.
And we change it.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we want to do.
And that's what you guys are doing. You guys are providing that appetite suppressant. You guys are relieving the pain.
That's right.
And that's what I always, whenever I talk to new entrepreneurs or businesses, I'm always like, where is the pain and how do you relieve the pain? And if you can figure out a way to take the pain away, whether it's in business, whether it's in sales, whether it's in entrepreneurial or tech efforts, if you're removing pain, it's like, and almost always, if the pain is personal, like what you felt when you were running around doing vocation, the pain is personal for you. Yes. The pain is personal for you. The two things that I've noticed from entrepreneurs that are really successful is when they're removing a pain point they personally experienced. And the second one is if they have an extremely disruptive product. How disruptive are you getting ready to be? And if it's very disruptive and they're removing personal pain, that business is getting ready to be very, very successful. Tell me, what does 2025 look like for you guys? What's the road ahead? What are the big milestones for you as you continue to scale out and become millionaires and all this shit? I'm going to ask you for money next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So 2025. So just next year, what we will get to is product market fit, especially in our launch market, which is Nashville.
Yeah.
By 2026, we will be starting to scale this nationwide. So we're gonna pick our next city. We're thinking right now it's gonna be in a Texas market.
Okay, great.
It's very similar to a Nashville market. And
you got affinity there.
Yep, exactly. We want to almost take the like Uber path on how they started to scale Uber across the country. It's not just going to be an instantaneous boom, we're now in every city, because it just doesn't, when you're scaling a marketplace, it doesn't work like that.
It does not.
And what we want to be able to do before we scale it nationwide is that we want to have just literally the best product possible that is solving those pain points, and that is it's a very like fine oiled machine before we start to replicate that process all over.
Great. And what's the next big milestone for you guys? I know you're on the circuit right now. You're on the veteran entrepreneur circuit. Saw you at Penn Fed. Had an opportunity to speak with our strategic director of programs, Reggie Ordonez, well before you were participating in our programs. Obviously, you're here at the Salt Lake City Business Shower. What are the big milestones for you for the remainder of this year in 2025 that you see before you guys kind of hit that next level of success, which I know we all believe is right around the corner?
Yeah. 100% of my focus is on the product.
Yeah.
Right now, that's where we're at. We've been lucky to have some really great partners and investors with us.
Great.
That are helping us fund this. And they're really involved in helping us get to that product market fit. Our goal is I'd rather have 500 people in Nashville that can't live without our product than have 10,000 around the country that are kind of using it.
Yeah.
When we nail that 500 to 1,000 in Nashville, they're like, yes, sign me up. I'll pay whatever. Then we know we're there, right? So that's my 100% focus.
I talk about this all the time, and this is universal. When people ask, one of the things that people use to measure the success in gyms is they're like, how many members do you have? It's the wrong question to ask. It's the wrong question to ask. It's like, I would rather have 100 members that pay me $300 a month, right? Than have 300 members that pay me $100 a month.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Same thing. It's that old adage about, having guys to the right and left of you in a combat arms unit. I'd rather have 10 studs than 100 shitbirds.
That's right.
Any day of the week.
And if we nail that what that creates in our marketplace is the network effect, virality, right? If we have absolute ambassadors of our product because it's so good, then it scales on its own.
They evangelize on your behalf, and your marketing spend stays flat.
Yeah.
Which is why when we're building this product, that's literally what we're taking into the most extreme consideration is the customer feedback. So getting on the calls with all the people that are using the product and iterating based off of their feedback themselves, not just like our thought process on it all. We're really taking that into consideration.
And then last thing, I know we're wrapping. Another milestone next year is we'll raise our seed round.
Let's go.
So if anybody's out there listening and wants to have a conversation, we're not raising until the spring-ish. So we're just starting conversations and open up relationships.
People are going to be fighting tooth and nail to be lead on your cap table. I have no doubt about that in my mind. What's real quick? I want to ask you guys two questions. What's the hardest lesson you've learned? Maybe this is as you're looking back. What's the one thing you wish you would have known when you started all this? And what's been the most valuable asset to you throughout this kind of journey. So it's a little dual prong there. So what's the thing you wish you knew, and then what's been a really, really valuable asset to you throughout this journey?
I'll start with the valuable asset just because that's what kind of came to mind first. And I think it's our network, and it's being a veteran, honestly, at this point has been literally the thing that has gotten us to where we are right now.
That's pretty cool.
If it weren't for our military career, the relationships that we built over, our time in the military, our West Point experience, we would not be where we are today.
Yeah.
And it's not just because, people have been mentors. It's just the encouragement. It's the confidence that they gave to us to be the leaders that we need to be in our organization at MyHome. It's the entire veteran journey has just been the reason why we are where we are.
Great. I love to hear that. I hope everybody who's listening understands that. You understand what a valuable asset being a veteran is. The experience doesn't stop when you get out.
No, that's when it starts.
Yeah, it starts.
Yeah.
It's lifetime. And if you were able, and listen, when people talk about the veteran experience and being able to hold on to the veteran community, it doesn't mean running around with a set of quad nods on your head when you've been out for 10 years. As a matter of fact, when I see that, I'm like,
that's a red flag.
I'm like, my brother in Christ, I don't think you're transitioning well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what
we got some people you can talk to.
Yeah, I got a dude you need to talk to, guy, because you do not have a need for those goddamn quad nods, brother. You are you live in Nashville. You know what I mean? You are 5 minutes from 2 Walmarts.
That's right.
You're fine. But what I do think is when people understand how powerful that network is and leverage the tools that they received while they were in service and are able to flip those and use them in the private sector in a meaningful way, God damn it, it makes all the difference in the world.
Dude, and what I'd say to that is I was going to say network, but our network is veterans.
Yeah.
And it sounds cliche, but I swear to God, man, we would not, I personally would not be anywhere close to success, which is like where I think we're at without our experience at West Point in the Army and then afterwards, right? I mean, and the thing that I wish I would have known before is, this is a twofer, is that I wish I would have known that I could have taken advantage.
Done it faster.
And done it faster.
Faster.
It was like, because, sometimes when you're in the military, especially regular Army, it's like, it's not cool.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't want to talk about it. And it's like, you want to get far away from it. And like, that's the cool thing to do. That's all bullshit. And I wish I would have known that was all bullshit sooner.
Yeah.
I could have started into that network sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking of like, if there was one thing I wish I had known, it's kind of like, for me, the whole journey has, like, I'm glad we have seen failures. I'm glad that we have done things incorrectly because it's allowed us to really learn from those experiences.
Yeah.
So like, if I don't think I would really want to change much of anything in that regard because it's basically like morphed us into where we are today.
It would have been
from those failures.
It would have been very easy for you when you were at B school and took that damn business plan and got it shot full of absolute goddamn holes.
Yeah.
To just throw your arms up in the air and be like, I'm done.
Right.
Because you were working, you
Yeah.
were cleaning stuff up. Yeah. Does not sound to me at all like you were thinking about tech platforms as a way to scale the business that you had put literal elbow grease into. But you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't take that failure and internalize it in such a way that said, oh, you know what? That means I need to quit.
Right.
You were just like, hey, man, it's just a bump in the road.
This is why veterans should be entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Is the grit and determination, or I always say this, are two things that if you look at, a chart of what successful entrepreneurs have and what veterans have, that's the overlap. It's just like, I'm not going to quit. I don't care how hard it gets. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs, like everybody this weekend has said, it's so true. And we're new to the game. We're 4 years into this.
Yeah.
But I've already seen that, like, you just see people quit.
Yeah.
And it's just, you got to take the ego out of it and take the hits and just keep moving. You can't fail if you don't quit.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
Kind of goes back to those three things, right? Buy a pair of cleats, figure it the fuck out, and be a good dude.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Listen, guys, I can't appreciate your time this morning. I know you guys you had a tremendous day yesterday. I had an opportunity to sit in on your pitch and hear about MyHome. I'd heard about it previously. Like I said, we had an opportunity to meet each other initially at the Penn Fed Accelerator program. Big shout out to Matt Boyd and the PinFed Accelerator program.
Yes, thank you.
Doing great stuff, But really, so pleased to have you here at the Salt Lake City Business Shower. Once again, I hope we get an opportunity to see you on stage tonight at the Eccles Theater, so that you get an opportunity to pitch this business in front of the sons and daughters of Salt Lake City. I can't thank you enough for being here this morning once again and carving out some valuable time. I know you guys are busy. Once again, if you're interested in participating in Warrior Rising's programs, head over to programming@warriorrising.org. The first step is simple, guys and gals. All you have to do is sign up for the Warrior Academy. It's 40 self-paced modules on business plan creation, anchored in the military decision-making process and planning methodology. It's familiar to anybody that's spent time in service. Once you make it through there, you can go on to our future programs or the next step in our programs, which is, of course, Warrior University, sponsored in part and hosted in part with Grand Valley State University. And hopefully for those of you that try hard and have been able to earn your way through merit in our programs, you might find yourself at one of our national business showers, just like our friends here at MyHome. Guys, once again, I can't thank you enough, and really looking forward to seeing what you guys accomplish in the very near future.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.